Welcome back, everyone, to our HOF Week 2 NFL straights and parlays. Super excited to get into this one. Week 1 was great, and yeah, looking forward to Week 2. How are you guys? How are you guys feeling about this week? Are you excited?
We got a big slate on Sunday, and we got another team member in Brad. I'm excited. He's always talking up his picks. He's got his data, so I'm excited to get into it.
Yes, sir. I'm glad to be here, honestly. We saw a very electric week one with a lot of points scored and offenses were just rolling. So excited to see week two.
Yeah, and I've seen a little bit of Brad's stuff so far, and it's looking pretty good. So he may put us to shame here, Brian. He's definitely been in the lab cooking. So to get things kicked off here, I can kick things off. I am looking at for my straight this week, Bijan Robinson, 90 plus total yards. He was absolutely electric in week 1, had 124 total yards, and the crazy part of it too was he wasn't very good on the ground. I think he just got slightly over 20, around 20 to 30 yards in week 1 on the ground. Majority of it was receiving, had 7 targets, 6 receptions. Really impressive, and I think everyone knows this guy is going to have a absolute breakout season. If we look back to the last 2 seasons, this year and last year, has hit in 78% of games, as well as in away games, he has hit in 88% of games, 6 of 7. So he's done really well. And then also last year when he faced Minnesota, cashed with 101 total yards. So I love this matchup. I think Penix is going to feed him the ball, and he's going to do his thing. I think Brian will come next with a little bit more juice for us. What do you got, Brian?
I got an even money pick for us. I got an anytime. So we got Josh Allen, who, as we all know, he's consistently carrying the ball. He likes using his legs to make plays. Jets defense, they're kind of in that bottom tier when it comes to rushing touchdowns, especially against QBs. Almost the worst team in the league there. Consistent games with either one or multiple anytimes, and then in that head-to-head matchup, he scored in both of those games. So I'm expecting him to be running a lot with James Cook potentially a little banged up. They like to run the sneak as well. So I think this is a lock and getting even money for it. Now it's time for the inaugural pick from our friend Brad. Brad, what do you got?
So I'm gonna be rolling with total points under 39 and a half for the Saints versus 49ers game. I really like that pick. We got Rattler starting at QB, and as you can see, 4 out of the last 5 games that he's played, this has hit, and it's averaged about 37.4 total points in those games, and that's including matchups against Green Bay and Washington. So those are good offenses. The Saints average 12.2 points the last 5 games that Rattler has played. So I wouldn't really expect much offense from the Saints facing a 49ers defense that has been strong against the pass, and we can see that they're second in passing yards in the matchup rankings there. 49ers on their side, obviously have the injuries to Kittle, Ayuk, and Juwan Jennings, as well as probably Purdy sitting this one out. So not much hope on that front. I think this is a lock, especially if Mac Jones is going to play and start.
Brad, I love this, and I love how surgical you got with this. So many great insights. He's out here throwing little darts out there, bro, picking out little pieces of information. So, yeah, great job with that. And yeah, moving over to our parlays now. Going to be working with some different levels of value. I'm kicking it off because I have the least value, per usual, but it's still a great bet, a good 3-legger. I think valued around plus 180. So it should be solid. And yeah. Looking at the Ravens-Browns game, and I have 3 picks: Derrick Henry, anytime touchdown; Lamar Jackson, 35 rushing yards; and Judy for 4 receptions. And I think the where I looked and cooked up this bet was using the usage charts. If we look at carries, for example, of course, Derrick Henry averaging 3.1 red zone carries. The dude is an absolute machine, and like Brian, you were just saying before we started recording, he can score from anywhere. So really like his touches in the red zone too. Moving over to Lamar Jackson, he averages 8.4 rush attempts per game, usually gets loose on one. So I really like, I think on one of these rushes, he could pick up 15, 20 yards and knock out majority of those yards and then continue to chip away at it as the game advances. And then finally going over to Judy, he's averaged 8.8 targets, or 8.5 targets, excuse me, 22% of the Browns total, which is a good amount of targets. So I think, 4 receptions feels pretty safe there too. And then if we go over to the PO, can we go to this season so far? This season.
The one game this season.
Hit in week 1. Hey, bro, hit in week 1. That's a good start. Can we go to head to head? Hit in both games against the Browns last season, and can we quickly go to this and last season? What are those implied odds? That's 51% right there. Minus 102. If we go over to our friends at ESPN Bet, plus 180. That's what I call positive edge. That's what I call great value. That's what I call winning bet for week 2 of NFL season.
I'll be running my parlay picks next here, and I'm really liking Tua under 34.5 yards for longest completion. We're getting that from DraftKings at minus 115. I think there's great value here. It's a less popular prop bet. Not a lot of people will bet the under on longest passing completion, but I like it here. It's hit 75% of games last season, and in a head-to-head match against the New England Patriots, in which the Dolphins actually scored 34 points. So even putting points on the board, not really seeing that long completion there. New England actually ranks 7th best in defending the pass, as you can see in the matchup there. And the Dolphins just looked abysmal last week. You know, all over Twitter, it's been pretty brutal on them. Tua's been making a lot of turnovers, and he seemed uncomfortable in that pocket. So I predict that the Dolphins will probably need to rely on more shorter passes in the run game to try to get their offense going on the right track. And it just doesn't look like Tyreek Hill and Tua are on the same page, which would be what you would see a long pass going for. So that's my first pick. My second pick, I'm really loving Jamar Chase over 90 plus yards. We're getting that for plus 106 on DraftKings. They're playing at home. Love to see the Bengals play at home there. It's hit 4 out of the 8 home games last season, and the last 5 games of last season. So I think week 1 was an outlier for that whole team and that whole offense. They're always typically off to a slow start, but should be able to pick things up a bit in week 2, especially against the Jags that ranked 32nd overall in receiving yards. My third pick, and this is kind of doubling down on one of the picks that Aiden had on his parlay, is Jerry Jeudy, 60 plus yards. We're getting that plus 104 on DraftKings and plus 105 on ESPN Bet. It's hit 2/3 of the games last season and is hit in both head-to-head matchups last year against the Ravens. So I really like this pick. The Ravens ranked 28th in receiving yards allowed and just let up 112 yards to second-year wideout Keon Coleman last week. So I think, this is room for Jerry Jeudy as the primary beneficiary of the Browns passing attack to really take flight here, especially since they also allowed 41 points to the Bills. While Flacco is no Bo Nix, I think he loves to air the ball out a lot, and he's averaged 267 passing yards in the last 3 games, which is ranked 5th amongst QBs in those last 5 games. So I really think he's going to want to throw the ball. And given how dominant the Baltimore defense is, I'd expect the Browns to be playing from behind and being forced to have to throw the ball out a lot during that game. So I really want to double down on Jerry Jeudy here. Yeah, so I really like these 3 picks, 3-leg parlay here. If you go to DraftKings, we'll see that we got pretty good odds on this. And we got plus 685 here. Yep. So these are great odds that we have. I think these 3 are locks, and we can expect hopefully this to hit, in this upcoming week.
Yeah, so now we got 2 parlays on the board. Time for the one that's actually going to hit. I'm gonna start off my first leg here in the Philly game. So we got a Super Bowl rematch here. This time, Chiefs are going to be at home. I'm starting off with Patrick Mahomes for 20 plus rush yards. Reason I like this is obviously Rashee Rice, who was wide receiver 1 last year, he's suspended, and then in week 1 we saw Xavier Worthy go down. So more of a lack of receiving options for Mahomes, and as you can see here, he already maintains a pretty consistent carries number at around 4 carries per game. Expecting this to go up, and in the last game, week 1, he had 6 carries. So this is hit in 3 out of the last 4 games. Philly does have that good, strong rush defense. However, against QBs, they're kind of middle of the pack. So expecting Patty Mahomes to clear this pretty easily. That's my first pick. And then second pick is going to be, second and third picks are going back to the well, back to my team. The Lions at home against Brad's Bears, actually, which should be an interesting one this Sunday. Got another NFC North matchup, but I'm starting off with Jahmyr Gibbs. So Jahmyr Gibbs, pretty consensus, a top 3 RB in the league. Really high on a lot of fantasy boards this year. I like him for 60 plus rush yards. As you can see here, is cleared on almost 80% of the last 2 seasons here. I think the last game, week 1, was an anomaly in that Green Bay, they improved their rush defense a lot. They came out swinging, but against a rush defense like the Bears, who consistently pretty poor, and then especially towards those running backs, I think this is a lock. So at 172, that'll wrap up my second leg. And then finally, we got the man of the hour, as usual, Jared Goff. At 225 pass yards, I think this is a lock for him. You see, towards the end of the season, he really locked in. He hit this in, what is that, like 9 of the last 10 games. Averaged about 300 in that time frame. And with kind of also a middle of the pack defense in the Bears, and that kind of in-division rivalry fueling the guys in there, I think this is a lock. And as we see with looking at the last 5 here, a combined hit rate of 60%. If we take it over to the sportsbook, we see that it's actually at plus 280. So not as much value as Brad's, more than Aiden's though, which we'll definitely take. But yeah, let us know. We have one straight from each of us, one parlay from each of us, and we're keeping track. So we'll follow along with how we did last week, and let us know who you're telling in the comments below. As usual, guys, thanks to everyone who tuned in. Don't forget, you can see the same things that we're looking at right here: usage charge, player stats, all those cool filters. And you can get actually 50% off on your first month subscription. Use code HOFYT upon sign up. But $10 for, who knows how much money you're going to make using the stats, using the platform, especially once we get more data. So, yeah, thanks again, and see you guys next week.